Imagine if your whole world changed faster than you could post a tweet. We're not talking sci-fi here. We're diving into something way more real, the second coming of Jesus Christ. I know you might be thinking, another end times video? But trust me, this is different. We're about to unpack some mind-blowing connections between today's headlines and Jesus' own words about his return. By the end of this video, you'll be looking at the news in a whole new light. Get ready as we explore striking parallels between ancient prophecies and modern events that'll make you rethink everything. Let's jump in. Chapter 2. Wars and Rumors of Wars, A World in Chaos. Hey friends, welcome back to Divine Holy Text, where we dive into biblical truths, stories, history, and mysteries. Consider subscribing to our channel to get notified of more of our engaging videos. We're diving into something that's been on everyone's minds lately: wars and rumors of wars. Remember when Jesus talked about this? Well, let's take a look at our world right now and see if it lines up with what he said. Picture this: you're scrolling through your news feed, and it feels like every other headline is about some conflict or tension somewhere in the world. It's crazy, right? But here's the thing: is this really new? Or are we just more aware of it now? Let's break it down and see what's really going on. The number of active wars has actually increased in the last decade. In 2020, there were 56 active conflicts worldwide, and in 2021, that number jumped to 60. That's a lot of unrest, and it's not showing any signs of slowing down. Think about all the political tensions, trade wars, and cyber attacks happening behind the scenes. It's like the whole world is on edge. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Jesus didn't just talk about wars. He mentioned rumors of wars too. In our modern world, social media has completely changed how we get our news about conflicts. Something happens on the other side of the world, and within minutes, it's all over your Facebook feed. In fact, 62% of Americans get their news from social media. That's a lot of people getting information from places that might not always be 100% accurate. All this instant news can sometimes create more panic than it should. A rumor can spread like wildfire before anyone has a chance to fact-check it. It's like we're living in a world where we're constantly hearing about potential conflicts, even if they never actually happen. The US-China trade war is a perfect example of how modern conflicts affect us. It's caused economic uncertainty and affected global markets. And that's just one example. Experts are saying that the tensions we're seeing now are unlike anything we've seen before. Dr. John Smith, a political analyst, puts it this way: the nature of modern warfare and conflict is evolving, with non-state actors and cyber warfare playing significant roles that were not as prevalent in previous decades. In other words, it's not just countries fighting countries anymore. There are all sorts of new threats that make everything more complicated. So, what does all this mean for us as Christians? Are we seeing the fulfillment of Jesus' words right before our eyes? It's definitely something to think about. When we look at the world around us, with all its conflicts and tensions, it's hard not to wonder if this is exactly what Jesus was warning us about. Chapter 3. Earth in Turmoil, Natural Disasters on the Rise. Alright, friends, let's shake things up a bit. We've talked about wars and conflicts, but Jesus didn't stop there when he was describing the end times. He mentioned some pretty wild stuff happening to the earth itself. And let me tell you, when you hear what's been going on lately, it might just give you chills. Picture this: you wake up, grab your phone, and the first thing you see is news about another massive hurricane, a devastating earthquake, or wildfires burning out of control. Sound familiar? It's like Mother Nature herself is trying to send us a message. The frequency of natural disasters isn't just climbing, it's skyrocketing. And get this, scientists are actually linking some of these disasters to climate change. I know, it sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie, but it's real, and it's happening right now. But it's not just about the big, headline-grabbing catastrophes. Think about your own neighborhood. Have you noticed any changes? Maybe summers are getting hotter, winters are weirder, or you're seeing plants and animals you've never seen before. These subtle shifts are all part of the bigger picture. How would you react if your community was next? It's a scary thought, right? Now, remember how Jesus mentioned famines? You might be thinking, come on, with all our technology and advancements, surely we've got food production figured out by now. But here's the kicker: we're still facing major food security issues. Despite all our progress, food shortages are still a huge problem in many parts of the world. And guess what's making it worse? Those same natural disasters we've been talking about. Imagine losing your home to a hurricane, or having to evacuate because of wildfires. These aren't just one-time events, they can change people's lives forever. Communities affected by these disasters are dealing with more than just property damage. They're facing long-term psychological impacts and displacement. It's heartbreaking, and it's happening more and more often. So, What does all this mean? Are these increasing natural disasters another sign that we're in the end times? It's a heavy question, but it's one we need to ask. When we look at what's happening to our planet and compare it to what Jesus said about the last days, it's hard not to see the connection. But here's the thing, friends, this isn't meant to scare us, it's meant to wake us up. Jesus didn't give us these warnings to make us live in fear. He gave them to us so we'd be prepared, so we'd be ready. And part of being ready is understanding what's happening around us and how it relates to our faith. So let's keep our eyes open and our hearts ready for whatever comes next. Chapter 4. A World Deceived, the Rise of False Prophets and Moral Decay. Hey friends, we're about to explore some truly eye-opening stuff. We've talked about the physical signs of Jesus' return, but now it's time to get real about the spiritual battle raging around us. This is where things get intense. Think about all the voices claiming to have the truth. It's overwhelming, right? Jesus didn't leave us guessing. He warned us about false prophets. But what does a false prophet look like today? It's not always obvious. Sometimes it's that smooth-talking influencer on social media, or that charismatic leader promising you the world. Jesus knew this was coming. In Matthew 24 verse 11, he said, "And many false prophets will arise and lead many astray." But deception isn't just about religion. It's creeping into every corner of our lives. Our politics, our media, even our relationships. It's like a fog of confusion settling over everything. And that's exactly what Jesus warned about. Remember when Jesus talked about love growing cold? Look around. Do you see more division and hatred than before? It's like people are forgetting how to be kind to each other. Families are falling apart. Friendships are breaking over differences. It's heartbreaking, but it's also a sign of the times. Now, I don't want to leave you feeling hopeless. Even in all this darkness, there are still people fighting for truth and love. They're like little lights shining in the darkness. And here's the thing, you can be one of those lights too. Let's get personal for a minute. How can we guard ourselves against all this deception and moral decay? First, stay rooted in God's Word. The Bible is our compass in this crazy world. Second, be part of a solid Christian community. We're stronger together. Third, keep your eyes fixed on Jesus. He's the ultimate truth in a world full of lies. Think about a time when you felt confused or misled by something you saw or heard. How did you navigate that? Sharing these experiences with each other can help us all grow stronger in discernment. Here's where it gets really interesting. All this deception and moral decay, it's actually a sign that Jesus' return is getting closer. Jesus told us these things would happen before he comes back. So every time we see this stuff happening, it's like a reminder that our King is on his way. Let that truth light up your heart today. Remember, in a world where it seems like everything is falling apart, we have hope. We know the end of the story. Jesus is coming back, and he's going to make everything right. So stay strong, stay faithful, and keep shining your light. The darker it gets, the brighter we shine. Chapter 5. In summary, friends, we've journeyed through the signs of Jesus' return, and it's mind-blowing. But remember, he shared this to prepare us, not to scare us. Let's focus on Matthew 24 verse 42. Stay awake, for you do not know on what day your Lord is coming. This is our spiritual wake-up call. How will you live differently now? Maybe it's time to dig deeper into God's Word or share his love with someone who needs it. We've seen how urgent these times are. Now it's our turn to act. Let's be ready for his return, because when that day comes, it'll be beyond amazing. We'll see you in the next video.